to help quench this fire. Our economy is in shambles, and I'm announcing my intention to contest for the flag bearership of the National Democratic Congress (NDC).
We have details plus his jab at President Akufo-Addo for claiming money does not like noise.
Let us remember that even though she can't pay the day, Nansu, a comfort the day. We have everything, but a come the now me get they say.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
And Top Story is always brought to you by Vodafone. It is now official. Former Finance Minister Dr. Kwabena Duffuor will run for president. With Ghana's economy facing the worst economic crisis in a generation, Dr. Duffuor has today declared himself the man to help save the country he claims is currently on fire. He will now most certainly lock horns with former President John Mahama for the NDC flag bearership contest. Mr. Mahama is yet to declare he will run, but many expect him to. Well, today at a press conference, Dr. Kwabena Duffuor laid out why he believes he is the man for the job.
Fellow countrymen and women, today Ghana, our house, is on fire. And as a citizen, I have a responsibility to help quench this fire. Our economy is in shambles. The youth are unemployed and they are very desperate. Ghanaians everywhere are going through very difficult times. They are lacking the most basic necessities of life. Indeed, this is not what our founding fathers envisaged for us. This is not what a country like Ghana, with tremendous blessings and resources, should find herself. My colleagues, we are in difficulty. We are in danger. And I want to inform you that the time for change is now. There's no other. It is now. And therefore, today, I want to announce to you, and I'm announcing my intention to contest for the flag bearership of the National Democratic Congress (NDC). Anytime the party opens nominations. I have led a great public and private life, one of success and accomplishments. I will offer myself once again to serve the land of my birth with humility and sacrifice.
Well, let's get into a bit of the details today. Why specifically he thinks he is the man for this job. My colleague, Kojo Brace, was at this news conference and joins us in the studio. Kojo, you cannot ignore his timing. I mean, we know that Ghana is facing worst economic crisis in a generation.
Sure.
This is a man who was once a finance minister. He must have chosen the timing. He must have, been pretty particular about when to announce his candidature. So did he tell us, though, whilst he was doing this, what qualifies him? Because whoever is elected in 2024, when he's hoping to stand, will have one job, that is getting us really out of this economic crisis back to recovery. Did he show any evidence why he's a man for this job?
Well, as we heard him there, he says we are, on fire and something must be done. He says that during his time as finance minister, running the economy, 2012 to 2009 to 2009 to 2012, the exchange rate, which has become a major issue now, stood at 1 cedi 20 pesos to the dollar at the end of 2008 and rose marginally to 1 cedi 80 pesos to the dollar. So he broke it down and said, well, so it means that in the whole 4 years, the cedi only lost 60 pesos to the dollar. So in average a year, it lost 15 pesos. That's how he put it. Again, he said that the GDP of the economy, the growth rate was 14.5% in 2011, and that was the highest growth rate in Ghana's entire economic history. And Ghana emerged at that time as one of the fastest growing economies in the whole world in the year 2011. He again says the economy registered the longest sustained, and Evans, you remember this, single digit inflation. It registered the longest, single digit inflation over 31 months from June 2010 to December 2012. It was below. It was at a single digit, range. He says Ghana's economy registered a decline in interest rate to the lowest level in 4 decades. For 40 years, it was the lowest during his time. Again, he says he was the man who superintended over the budget, in which at the end of 2011, the budget deficit had reduced to 4% of GDP from 14.5% of GDP at the end of 2008. So when they came in, it was 14.5, and during his time, he was able to run it to 4% of GDP. That's the budget deficit. This is for the first time ever Ghana produced over 1 million metric tons of cocoa for the 2010-2011 cocoa season. And again, he says unemployment rate dropped from 5.3% in 2010 to about 2.2% by the end of 2012.
So a long list of things that he
Sure.
believes he achieved as a finance minister that he takes credit for. We'll interrogate a bit of that pretty shortly with his team. We know that the president has been speaking recently, I mean, on the current economic crisis, and, he's become very famous for making the pronouncement that's a competitor to what, money doesn't like noise. The former finance minister, who now says he's going to run for president, wants to have the last say on that.
He says that that's a statement he once made, but upon reflection, he's realized that, well, if people are hungry, they would have to make noise, and it's hunger that brings about noise. So it's not necessarily about the money, but when people are hungry, what do you expect them to do?
Let us remember that even though she can't pay the day, Nansu, a comfort the day. We have everything, but a comedy. Nothing did they say. Because we have everything, but we're not making use of what we have. We are suffering. We are talking. And we are being told that she can't pay the day. I said this years ago, but I don't realize she can't pay it by come. So a comedy, Mr. President. What should we do? Let's arise, all of us, let's arise and build together to avoid the looming national disgrace. It's coming. Colleagues, we have no other option but to work hard to ensure that the disgrace coming, our children shouting, having no food to eat.
So what is he going to do to sell himself as a candidate? Because we know he's going to come up against a gentleman. Of course, John Mahama hasn't declared formally, but everybody expects him to. He's going to come up against a man who's been a former, president before. He is well, marketed.
He
Everybody
was
knows
the
him.
head of the economic
Management team.
when he was
So
finance
what is he
minister.
going to do to put himself out there as the man who can really lead the NDC
So
into 2024?
Dr. Dufour says in the coming weeks, he's going to tour the whole of the country to meet with brothers and sisters to explain to them what he means by, the Ghana dream. He says that he wants to talk to Ghanaians about the challenges that is confronting all of us, to talk through solutions and to explain to Ghanaians what he has to offer as Kwabena Dufour, what he terms the Ghanaian dream.
I see. Did he define this dream?
He didn't.
He didn't. Okay.
But that's why he says he's going to meet people, Ghanaians throughout the country, to explain to them personally what he means by the Ghanaian dream.
Okay, thank you very much, Brace. Let's bring in former Deputy Communications Minister. He's a member of the Dr. Dufour team. Joins us on the telephone line right now. Mr. Kwaku, thank you for your time here on Top Story.
Hello.
We'll also be speaking pretty shortly with Dr. Ali Duseidu with the University of Ghana Political Science Department as we begin to analyze his chances and what he really brings to the table. Dr. Kwaku, this is a classic political opportunism, is it not, when it comes to the timing of his announcement today? Choosing a time when we know that the economy is suffering its worst crisis in a generation to announce that he's running and then picture himself as a man who quenched this house, which he claims is on fire. You chose this time so that you can milk the I guess the crisis we were in.
Yeah. Well, look, listen to me. Yeah, if you're describing this as political opportunism, it sounds to me as a rather unfair depiction of what is going on in this country. I mean, listen, if you haven't been here for the past year, I can excuse you for not knowing the predicament that the country is in. But if you've been here, especially over the last year, then I would suggest to you that the term political opportunism is mischievous. The fact of the matter is, even the lady in the market knows that Ghana has come to a crossroads. All you have to do is go to the market and check into the price of rice or oil or anything else. And you find that we have an exponential explosion of price spikes. It doesn't make sense. A lot of people are very afraid, very fearful from day to day about how they're going to survive. So you should use that as a backdrop against which this conversation can make sense. So I totally reject the characterization of political opportunism. Here is the son of the soil, Kwabena Dufo, who you know has been at one time governor of the Bank of Ghana, another time as Minister of Finance. He's been an entrepreneur, and then the story goes on and on and on. You know, he's not an unknown quantity. And he is saying that he humbly offers himself for national service to help rescue our nation from where it is.
Yeah, I mean, so you're suggesting to me that when the team sat down to plan, when is the best time to declare your candidature? You're saying that you didn't factor in that. Listen, Ghanaians are very upset now, especially days after the president spoke. This is strike when the iron is still hot. It never crossed your mind.
So I hope you heard. No, it's not about crossing my mind. Let's face the reality. I hope you heard when the president spoke. He said something about Sikam Pedede. To me, that was so ill-advised. I don't know who his handlers are, but you see, that statement calls for a rejoinder. Sika Pedede. And so a com Fredede. Now, if you're going to tell me that is not true, you can relate to that, well, okay, then that's your cup of tea. But you see, a common so Fredede. And that is just the beginning of our story. The gentleman, Kwabena Dufo, indicated that when nominations are opened by the NDC, he will be throwing his hat in to run for flag bearership of the NDC. So I think in the coming weeks, we should stay tuned to what it is he will have to say about how he's going to work to help rescue Ghana from our current predicament. Unless you think we don't have a predicament. But if we have a predicament, then please stay tuned to what is coming.
So now he wants to be president. He's now formally declared, so we can scrutinize his track record.
He wants. Wait a minute.
I mean, just a second. He lists today when he did a press conference a number of things he claims he achieved or was achieved in the government under his watch as the finance minister. One of them, he says, is that in 2011, and he takes credit for this, that Ghana's GDP growth rate was 14.5%. Yes, that is a fact. But I put it to you, but that growth rate had nothing to do with Dr. Kwabena Dufo, nor even the government he served in. That is fundamentally down to the fact that we had just started producing oil in 2010, late 2010, just a year before 2011, and that became a big part of our GDP, not because Dr. Kwabena Dufo was a financial wizard or did anything magical to produce 14.5% growth rate that he now takes credit for.
So under whose watch did those results come? Listen, let me tell you what. If your
But it's not
attitude is
because
one
he
of,
did. But it's
let me
not because he
go
did
and
anything particular.
discount what Kwabena Dufo did, then I'm again promising you that in the coming weeks, you'll find out the answers to that type of narrative.
Yes, I mean, but
because what you've just said suggests to me that you want to distance the Dufo administration, the Atta Mills administration, from what happened at that period in 2011.
No, we need to scrutinize this a bit more, Mr. Kwaku. So you take credit for 14.5% growth rate in 2011. Can you pinpoint any particular policy that he introduced as a finance minister then that directly resulted in this growth rate that you mentioned and you take credit for?
So you tell me what you saw happening in 2011 in this country.
That's not
because
my question
you're asking questions. So you must answer some questions. What did you see happening in this country that you could not attribute to President Mills and Dr. Dufo and their team? They had an economic advisory council. It wasn't an economic advisory team. It was an advisory council that was made up of academics and other people who worked hardly, seriously, to make possible the results that we got. Now, I see that you have a narrative which seems to discount the work that President Mills and Minister Dufo did during that period. And I think that is not fair. It is not fair. People are very quick to claim credit for the things that happened under their watch. And these things happened under their watch. Mr. So why are you going to try to suggest that is not what happened?
Yeah, Mr. Kwaku, I'm asking a simple question, Mr. Kwaku. Dr. Kwabena Dufo takes credit for Ghana's highest growth rate yet, 14.5%. In fact, at the time, it was the highest growth rate anywhere in the world. I'm asking you to tell us what single policy that he introduced that directly led to this growth rate that he's now claiming credit for.
So do you think that what happened in that period was accidental?
No,
is that what you're saying?
That's not my question.
Was it an inheritance from the Kufuor era? Whose era accounted for that achievement?
But that's not my
question.
I'm
asking you.
Do you have a policy you can point to that says that is a result that then produced the growth rate you mentioned that he takes credit for?
The monetary policies that were initiated in that period.
What monetary policy?
Listen to me, that arrested the runaway inflation, that reduced the inflation during that period. I think I well know. I mean, yes, you are a journalist and you are spinning, listen to me, you are spinning a certain line. Fine, I hear what you're saying. But if this is the game you want to play, then get ready over the coming weeks because we'll talk about a lot of things. Okay? And I'm in a noisy, very noisy area anyway. I told your caller from the beginning that where I am is quite noisy. I have a lot of people here. I had to step away, but it is still noisy. If this is the trajectory, then I think you should get ready for a whole debate on who created the changes that changed the economy. Because I see where you're going. Listen, in this country, we're not going to play coronation. We're not going to have, only one candidate is who we know.
But you say only one candidate. I mean, in the NDC, it's only John Mahama, is it not? You know this.
One single policy, I think you're going to find out about many policies. Okay?
Well, I mean,
so call me at
Mr.
another
Kwaku,
time
Mr.
when
Kwaku.
it's better, and I can talk to you.
Well, Mr. Kwaku, you're on the line with me, and I know you can hear me. Well, I mean, it obviously drops the line there. But that's the chief spokesperson for Dr. Kwabena Dufo, who tonight wants to be president, has declared now formally that he wants to run for president. He's going to come up against John Dramani Mahama, who hasn't declared yet, but everybody expects that he will. I want to bring in now Dr. Alidu Seidu, political science, lecturer at the University of Ghana, analyst as well. Dr. Seidu, thank you for your time here on Top Story.
Thank you so much, Evans.
So let's start from where we just ended there. I mean, Mr. Kwaku was given to us as the spokesperson for the Dufo campaign. you should tell me. I mean, once you put yourself up in today, you formally declare. You expect that your record will be scrutinized. In fact, that's what you're actually opening yourself up to. I wonder, given your quick reaction to the way that interview was handled by his chief spokesperson on the matter, reading motives into questions, which I insist are pretty fair for a man who wants to be president. Isn't that central to the whole idea of trying to lead the people and declaring that you will run?
Thank you so much, Evans. I agree very much with you that once you bring yourself up for public position, your life is no longer a private life. People, rational voters will want to look at what you have on the table and what you are going to give. And that has to do with scrutinizing what you have done in the past. So your records will come up for critical scrutiny, what you have done well, what you didn't do well, and what accounted for both doing well and not doing well, and its impact on where you want to be. I have listened to the engagement between you and the spokesperson, and I think Kwabena Duffuor, as respected as he is in the NDC, and his demeanor and all those things, must be replicated in people who speak on his behalf and people who campaign for him. He, as a candidate, will not be able to have time to be everywhere and to speak to every radio station and every other individual or group that want information about his candidacy. So he should be able to train his spokespersons to reflect his thinking as much as possible, his mannerism as much as possible, his candor and his temperament. If his spokesperson begin to threaten the media and say, okay, if that's the trajectory we want to go, you'll see what comes up. I think his announcement will be a stillbirth, because you need to do this in tandem, in collaboration, and in conjunction with the media and other organizations that are interested and that has the capacity to expose and sell your candidate. So it is not a good way to start.
I was going to go to the substance then. I mean, so he's declared now. Does he really stand a chance? We all know, of course, John Mahama is yet to, declare, but everybody expects him to. Does he really stand a chance?
Evans, it will be a tall order for him. I think maybe, I'm not sure, but I think he's doing this for maybe 2028, maybe after or something beyond 2028, 2024. Because if you look at even the history of the Fourth Republic, it seems to suggest that Ghanaians have never given an opportunity to anybody to govern them for the first time that you have contested as a flag bearer. President John Rawlings continued as a military, so he is an exception. But if you look at the first time President Kufuor contested, he never won. Look at the first time Achanos contested, he didn't. Look at the first time His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo contested, he didn't. President Mahama continued from his as vice president to president, and then he contested as a sitting president. So he is well known in the NDC. But Ghanaians have that element of hesitancy in just accepting a new flag bearer into government in that particular manner. So they will have to give him another opportunity to see how he manifests, how he conducts himself as even a candidate before he is given the nod. President John Dramani Mahama has been tried and tested, and he is a candidate that the NDC wouldn't spend so much resources to sell. As a flag bearer, he's already known, and he has started behaving even in the presidential manner. If you look at his engagement with the media, the way he steps into national difficulties and presents solutions and all those things, actually put him a heartbeat away from the presidency. Yes, I know it's going to be competitive, a very good run for the money of President John Dramani Mahama, but barring any unforeseen circumstances, former President John Dramani Mahama is likely going to be elected as a flag bearer if he declares his intention to contest.
So he's now thrown his hat into the race now. I mean, and I was asking him about the timing. How much are you reading into this? Of course, he is a former finance minister. The economy is in crisis. The president just spoke on Sunday, and if you listen to the general view, people aren't happy. And then he chooses his time carefully, right? Is it not? And pitches himself and throws in our faces his previous economic record. I mean, this is clearly orchestrated, is it not? To pitch him as the savior at a time when people are suffering and calling to be saved.
Yeah, Evans, I think it's a smart move. Yes, this is the time that people think not people think our economy is in crisis. It's obvious, and people are calling for the head of the finance minister. So it means that at this particular point in time, what Ghana needs is somebody who will be able to manage our economy in a manner that benefits everybody and trickles down to the ordinary human being. So presenting his economic credentials at this particular moment makes him the kind of messiah that Ghanaians are looking for. But even in that particular context, he's referring to his record under President Mill. But if you're going to pick it as an entirety, President John Dramani, former President John Dramani, was also the vice president at the time that he was the president. So if he's going to claim credit for that particular sector ministry, John Dramani Mahama can claim the same credit.
Especially when he was also the chair of the economic management team and the finance minister. In fact, John Mahama was his direct boss as the chair of the
that's the
economic
point I'm
management
making.
team.
If he has to claim credit for that particular period, he still will defer to His Excellency former President John Dramani Mahama. But at the time that former President John Dramani Mahama was substantive president moving forward after Mills, he had gone out of politics. So there's still an edge, a credit that former President Mahama can claim over him. So whatever achievement he can boast of was done in conjunction, and even mostly President Mahama can even say under his supervision as the head of the Economic Management Committee or team or whatever it was called. But I think it's good for democracy in Ghana, good for internal party democracy in the NDC, and I think he's positioning himself. We know if in the event that the NDC elects President Dramani Mahama and he wins 2024, maybe he's only doing 4 years. So at that particular point in time, there's still a lot of opportunity and for the NDC to look out for somebody. And if he throws his in hat now, at that particular point in time, he's not going to be a new candidate. He's already known by Ghanaians. He has campaigned widely. It will give him an edge over those who come after him.
I'm grateful, Dr. Alidu Seidu. Dr. Alidu Seidu is a political science lecturer with the University of Ghana. Earlier, you had Gideon Kwaku. He's a former deputy minister, former deputy communications minister in the Mills administration, served together with Dr. Dufour himself in that administration, and he is a member of the Dufour team and speaks for him as well. Listen, well, what do you make of the declaration tonight, and do you think he will be a match for John Mahama when he finally also declares? Share with me your thoughts on Newsnight in a minute.
Download it and use it. It gon' make your life so easy. Yeah. Oh yeah, download it. You gon' enjoy it. In my Brahmin check. In my Brahmin check. Come make a download them for you. Cause you can pay bills, you can buy credit, you can pay school fees, even chest tights with the Apple. Ecobank Apple. Life is easy with the EcoBank mobile app. You can pay your bills, transfer to and from mobile wallet, virtual card creation, transfer to other banks, express account opening, scan and pay, express cash, all at your fingertips with the EcoBank mobile app. You know, it's 5-star life with EcoBank. Can promise.
The 2022 World Cup begins in no time, and Multimedia Group Limited is championing a unique support wave across the world for the Black Stars. Come Qatar 2022, the nation will be one, rallying behind the Black Stars with one cheer song.
God bless our homeland, Ghana,
Cheer Song promotion is sponsored by Global. Order anything. We deliver in minutes. 10 bets for the better. Airtel Tigo Sikakuko data bundles. Enjoy huge data at lower cost. Simply dial *111# now. Airtel Tigo. Life is simple.
In 60 minutes, you're on Newsnight.
The
reason for our demonstration today is because of the fuel price increment.
We are not moving. Any driver trying to work will be dealt with.
GPLTU justifies decision by drivers nationwide to charge arbitrary transport fares as they lament rising cost of fuel, while some abandon terminals, leaving passengers stranded.
Can we continue to work and lose all the time? I think now the transporters are also coming up with this automatic adjustment system.
Meanwhile, the hardship brought about by the escalating fuel prices is being felt also by the political elite. We'll hear from Adanse Asokwa MP Katie Hammond, who nearly fought with a fuel-station attendant because he thought he was being cheated.
A few days ago, I went to the garage, pumped the fuel into the car, and the bloke came up and gave me a bill. It was almost a third world war. Why is he giving me this?
But as the government's move to get cheaper fuel in Abu Dhabi and exercising futility, we'll hear from an energy expert. Also tonight, resign now. The call by 54% of respondents in new opinion poll conducted by the Global Info Analytics.
So respondents were asked a very simple question. Do you think the government is handling the economic crisis well? 79% said no, 20% said yes, whilst 2% said they were indifferent.
We have details, plus we'll hear the response of the New Patriotic Party to this latest poll. Also tonight, Majority Leader formally declares agenda to have Finance Minister sacked. Is now a united MPP Majority Caucus position in Parliament, days before vote of censure against Ken Ofori-Atta.
Even though the issue started with about 80 plus, the group of 80 plus, the caucus meeting aligned with the position of that group. So it's no longer the cause of the 80 plus group, it's the agenda for the entire caucus.
We tell you why he says the 2023 budget, originally scheduled for the 15th of November, will now delay. In business.
In business, we'll be hearing from an economist, Professor Ebo Texton, who has described as prudent moves to delay the 2023 budget presentation as due to current negotiations with the IMF for a program.
In sports, former Black Stars coach Charles Kwamina Akono is calling on Ghanaians to be positive about the Black Stars' chances in Qatar.
You want to stay with us for business and sport later, plus
excited to be here. It's going to be a lot of energy at Perez Dome tomorrow night, 6 p.m. We're going up. I'm bringing all my energy, all my passion, and we're going to have a good time.
Well, headline act for Adome Praise Festival, Travis Green promises a thrilling experience as a countdown to the most anticipated gospel concert. I'll bring you the lineup of artists to expect. Travis Green is in the building. You want to stay with us for that and more here on Newsnight 055-1111-997. Let's start, shall we, with issues surrounding the current cost of living crisis. Tonight, brace yourselves for even more higher transport fares. That's the warning to passengers from transport operators in the country as fuel prices continue to soar. Diesel is currently selling for as much as 23 cedis per litre at the pumps. In the last few days, some of the drivers have opted to, on their own, increased transport fares, while others in the central, Ashanti, northeast regions have parked their vehicles in protest, leaving passengers stranded. We can hear from some of the drivers at Goso in the Yahafo region.
Fuel is expensive. They have increased the fare to 45 cedis. That's what we work with. Now fuel is 105 cedis. From 3 a.m., no car will move from here. Anyone should try and move and see, unless we are allowed to increase fares or they reduce fuel prices. The roads are not good. We spend money on spare parts, not to talk of fuel. The increment happens, we are not moving. Any driver trying to work will be dealt with.
Well, the situation is the same in Fijasi in the Ashanti region, from where Nana Boache Dankwa reports.
Here at the Fijasi station, drivers have refused to move their vehicles due to the high increase of fuel and diesel prices. They are complaining that the increment in fuel and diesel prices is really affecting them.
The reason for our demonstration today is because of the fuel price increment. We are not able to accrue our profit after long hours of work. This is the reason why we have increased the price of The DCE has spoken to us. The petrol price increment is unreasonable to us. Every time we go to the pump station, we are made to pay extra cash. Until government intervenes, we are not working in the next 3 days.
Well, passengers are obviously bearing the brunt of all this, and as you can imagine, they are appealing to the drivers to back down. They've also called on the government to intervene.
We say but was because of this, the way fuel no AC akosro no. Yeah, so the way I say yes, so they say yes to Emma Feno emu esu ekosro because you to fuel almost anagana plus. Na ebi ayen fa meje say ye me fa meje say bi asia ne sei enti mu a nyoma isi koso no owo se you bi aso bituma ka say ebi a fiti am kokolobo no first na amutua si ya esi akosoro enye te say first no enti onipa no yes ano a na adwuma sam so ebe yisuro kakra ama no enti ne omo amontum bi amontum amankwa adwuma no eye lolo fe 74 ya akosoro enti mama san kofo no amontum bebe na ntuma nkwa adwuma no because dem say you bi aso na bi a na adwuma oye no akotetu me koso sa Obuwa okoye ebia normal edwuma bia eba de bia ono so be kakra na so be kakra no so de ka no ba for kana se wakasa fe no ti se sana esa so ha adwene ebi on so me ken so mofra ne na de wo fi a ono ampo ne bia o hwe mofra ne bia be ma no kwampo no ontumi mboa no ono no hwe mofra ne in terms of school sem na de na se BBC akose na esa so a ha adwene
nti eben how na other brawo as a driver
message ya no how other brawo as a driver say ya no Kaona no first bia say bia we say bia me yema no yes enko so on expect size kan bia na yes ma particular no so yes me pon kura na we say me ma me metiska na yes ya no ankasa adwuma no passengers na mo ba amo mba nje besi na kwapo na de me so me bi na matum da ma me kaona na bi kwa so aso metem ne adwuma no so nje yes problem a yes ndemu wa yes no e be ya fu one de amo hwe mayen na embo ye nia.
The question me who say amane mu aidin pa because times ago you thought for no you be my so to me kakra akohwe ye ne but now even a year kwampo so your driver will park so station to station utumi just 500 Ghana a year say for January a year utumi 500 Ghana. Yes, I'm telling you because if for January they started increase the fuel from January they increase. Anytime they will increase the fuel, the government they will increase the daily sales. At the same time, the station will increase the ticket for us. So it means that we are not happy. We are feeling bitter in our way. But senior OC.
My brother, you know something. Fuel is something, anytime you attach it, you see, there is everything, the price of everything will change. That one is definitely. But I can't go and buy the fuel at the filling station at a high price and come and work and collect.
Well, my colleague Kojo Brazier interacting with the host of passengers and drivers at a bus terminal here in Accra in the midst of the fuel price crisis. Well, we've been speaking to the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, and they say, well, they can't do anything about the situation currently. Samuel Amwa says, who speaks for the GPRT, says passengers should expect the fares to be increasing pretty rapidly and frequently in the coming days.
You see, this is our business that we run. Look, even the OMCs, me, I'm seeing it like the government is not even able to even control the OMCs. They are coming out with their prices, okay, and even go to the spare parts market. They are also doing their own things. We are not saying because of these things we are also doing our own things, but this is our business that we are running. Can we continue to work and lose all the time? Can we continue to do this work and every day you see a driver, going home with empty-handed? Are you getting it? So all these things is happening because the government is not living up to expectation. The promises that is being given to the drivers, are not coming. Now, drivers are suffering. That is why all these things are happening like that. So this is not a fault that, or this is not something that someone may, put the blame on drivers. This is a business we are also running. In fact, it's rather unfortunate. The other time I met a driver and he was even saying, he has even regretted being a commercial driver. Why is he saying so? Because, a driver will work and he will not get anything. Are you getting it? So, Ben, I know the situation now is getting out of hands, but I believe passengers has to also understand the drivers, the situation in which the drivers are in now.
So is this arbitrariness going to continue? Basically, what I'm saying is, let's assume this week or next week prices go up a little. Let's say diesel goes to about 24 cedis or 25, and we're not hoping for that, but I'm just projecting hypothetically. And let's say maybe fuel also goes up. I mean petrol or something. Is that to mean we should expect fuel price increments as these transport fare increments, as the fuel price increments occur? Is that where we are now?
Ben, I think now the transporters are also coming up with this automatic adjustment system.
Automatic adjustment system, I see.
Formula. Ben, now fuel prices goes up every day and every day. When we had our 20% fare increment way back in May, all right, we sat down the next month that was June, July, the fuel price went up again. We were supposed to come up with an increment. We didn't do that, thinking that the fuel price will come down. We waited and from May to this October that we went for this increment. Then the fuel price has gone up to about 42%, of which if we were supposed to increase our fare, we should have increased it by four times. Even from the time we had this 19% that we jumped to 20%, up to now, it has been increased again for about 46%, meaning that our 10% threshold, we have exceeded.
That's a spokesperson for the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, Samuel Amwa. But guess what? It appears now that the escalating fuel prices is not only affecting ordinary people, it's also affecting the political class. Adansia Sokwa MP, Katie Hammond, has revealed he nearly fought with a fuel attendant because he thought he was being cheated.
A few days ago, I went to the garage, pumped the fuel into the car, and the bloke came up and gave me a bill. It was almost a third world war at the garage, at the station. Why is he giving me this? He said just yesterday the price of diesel, the price of super moved to what the price of diesel used to be. Diesel is now 20 whatever. I was about complaining to a colleague in the profession a day after, and he said to me, Don't worry about that. It's going to go to 23 this evening. And it's a particularly difficult situation. What is it that led to this? What is to be done? It's a difficult situation. And nobody, I don't particularly envy the lot of those who are really having to juggle. What do we do? Is the what do you call it? Is that the elephant in the room? It's the elephant in the room. Normally you don't mention it, but we are mentioning it. So I'm not sure what really is the elephant. But it's a difficult thing. It's not a situation peculiar to only Ghana. It's particularly difficult. I mean, you heard about a situation in what's the name, Sri Lanka, and the redeeming situation for those of us in Ghana is that at least we are not in long queues. Producing country in Nigeria and those countries around the area, they are in some sort of queues. We are not.
Well, Katie Hammond says the current price hikes is primarily due to oil marketing companies and BDCs chasing astronomical profits.
Taxes, have you checked? I was incandescent with rage the other time because I remember some time back when we were working distance and then the percentage was close to about 40, 50, whatever, particularly when I was ranking and we were making all the noise and this. So I was calling for all this reduction that you are talking about. A few days ago, a month ago, I called for, I haven't been following all the calculations the last few, whatever. So I called for it. And I looked at it and I was petrified. Check it. Somebody dropped it into your ears. That was the taxes, the prices, and whatever. Go and check. I won't give you the details. I'll give you some assignment. Go and check. Basically nothing. Basically nothing. I was surprised because I was hyped out. Come on. I'm going to say, reduce this, get this. Katie, have you looked at it? They said, well, not recently, yes. Those days when we were doing the calculations, it was quite significant. Well, in the last, whatever, check again. President has traveled out of the country many times, has sent emissaries many times out of the country to make sure that in a very short time, we would be able to flood the market with some products, I mean, because listen, you can see from the way I'm making this presentation that I'm not happy with the way the BDCs are going about this situation.
Well, we know the government is making some efforts at alleviating the situation. The government delegation is in Abu Dhabi in talks to get cheaper fuel. But energy analysts Kojo Poku and Duncan Amwa say this is an exercise in futility.
Your delegates have moved now from Ghana to Dubai or UAE to say they are looking for cheaper fuel. If I were an Emirati and you come to me asking for cheaper fuel, the first question I'll throw to you, you also produce fuel. What are you doing with yours? Oh, we have a contract that says we should sell ours and we are selling for premium. And you are coming to me to sell mine cheaply. Look, they will come back empty-handed. I can, without blinking, say this. Something needs to be done. They need to show to Mr. President something is being done. But clearly, if this is all there is to it, no country that I know, aside Russia today, will probably want to trade their fuel cheaply. When OPEC has indicated in their last general meeting that they are cutting back on production numbers.
Granted that you can tell me what you promised them, but they will give you fuel at 30. The next question is that how would you, the government, finance that lifting of products? Because we know that we are in a deregulated market and it's the private companies that finance products. And even the BDCs don't have money to finance the products. It's the banks that give them LCs. And at the stage we are in, banks don't even give LCs anymore. So the likes of BP, Vitol, Glencore, and Trafigura dump products in this market at a credit, okay? And that is how we get products into this country today. If any of these four companies, BP, Glencore, Vitol, and Trafigura, ask that we pay, they won't give us any more credit, Ghana will have fuel shortages. So look, to say it's a wild goose chase is at best, is even being kind. They are just going, I heard there's a conference going on in Abu Dhabi, that's why they all went. I didn't think they went purposely because of that conversation.
Well, That's the view of two experts on the issue. I want to bring in a majority member on the Mines and Energy Committee in Parliament, Paul Chum Berima. Mr. Berima, thank you for your time here on Newsnight.
Thank you very much, Ivan.
Thankfully, Parliament is in session. I wonder if the committee, you've had any briefing on attempts to try and ease the current challenges with the fuel prices on the market.
Okay, thank you. And let me say a very good evening to your listeners this morning. Clearly, yes, I know the chairman and Lakin have indicated that very soon they will be inviting the appropriate institutions to help us understand the challenges in terms of how this petroleum hype goes up and down, the fluctuations in the market. You know, we just resumed this Tuesday, so as I'm sure the Secretariat is working on documentation to ensure that we invite MPA and all those who matter, the BDCs and OMCs, so that we're able to come into terms with what is happening.
Is there room, do you reckon, knowing what you know in Parliament, for some form of government intervention beyond what we know is happening, trying to negotiate for affordable fuel in Abu Dhabi?
Yes. I mean, the last time we met the minister during the research, we had an engagement with the minister. The minister, before the president coming to give the speech, for him to go and engage some other people outside, he has started some negotiations to ensure that, of course, these pricing thing comes out. You remember, I mean, at the point some small 15 interest was reduced at a point during the course of the year. I think it was part of the process. It was not enough, though, and we strongly believe that the minister's efforts should yield good results. I mean, other than what my brother Duncan and Nana Poku is saying, we are confident that the president's decision and the minister's effort is definitely going to yield a good result, Ivan.
We've written in law, provisions that should help in times like this. I'm talking about the price stabilization levy, which has accrued quite a substantial amount of money over the last, few years. One of the, of course, line items in the law is that we use that money to stabilize prices at a time like this. I mean, you are in Parliament, you have the supervisory jurisdiction over some of these agencies. Why are we not seeing that happen? Why are we not using the funds for the purpose which the law states?
Clearly, I mean, I'm sure that when we invite the appropriate authorities before the committee, I'm sure they're going to explain to us why maybe they've not activated that fund to ensure that we're pushing the people in the country. So, but I can also say that looking at the times that we find ourselves, Ivan, I'm sure the finance ministry and energy ministry will be in talks on how this thing will be being done. Because aside even the funds, the forest is a problem. So, is it going to be able to survive, or is it going to be enough for the market? It's another thing that we need to think about. So, but I'm sure the finance ministry and the energy ministry will be in talks, and they are supposed to come back to us with something that probably why they are not using, or when they are going to use that fund.
Grateful, sir. That's a majority member on the Mines and Energy Committee, Paul Chum Berima. Resign now. That's the call to President Akufo-Addo by some Ghanaians who have expressed displeasure about the way government is handling the current economic situation. Results from recently released Global Info Analytics opinion poll reveal about 54% of Ghanaian respondents want the president to resign. Majority of the respondents believe the president has not managed the current economic crisis well. My colleague Isaac Kofi Ajay is a data analyst with the Joy Research Desk and has a copy of that and joins us in the studio. Kofi, walk us through the key highlights.
1,407 respondents were asked a very simple question if they support the calls for the president to step down. 54% said yes, the president should step down. 40% said no, and 6% were indifferent. Now, if you look at this question, do you think government is actually handling the economic crisis well? 79% said no, 20% said yes, whilst 2% were indifferent.
So how do Ghanaians want government to tackle this economic challenge?
Generally, 35% want government to stabilize the cedi against major foreign currencies. 27% want government to reduce taxes on fuel. 34% want government to stabilize price of goods, whilst 4% want other things, Evans.
Kofi, thank you very much. And that's details of that survey that was released today. Meanwhile, 148 former constituency chairmen of the New Patriotic Party from across the country have expressed their displeasure against President Akufo-Addo for allegedly neglecting them after spending huge resources to campaign for the party in the 2016 and 2020 elections. Seidu Adams is former chairman for Sampa constituency.
As we are telling you right now, some of the chairmen, our wives, we don't have peace in the house. Because the resources that we were having to be taking care of our family, we use everything 2016, 2020 to campaign for this party. Because of that, some of our wives are not even neglecting us. They don't want to even see us. Right now, we are suffering in the constituencies. Our resources to campaign for the party. What do we get out of the party? That is what they are asking us. Akufo-Addo gave us the promise that any constituency chairman will make sure that we will resource you massively. We will make sure that you will get MC or DC. Why?
Well, they have a threat for the MPP come the 2024 elections.
If that is what MPP wants us to be useless in our constituency into our family, then we are also afraid that 2024 we will also neglect them. We will make sure that the party, MPP party, will do all our powers. How we did and brought the party to power, we also do all our powers. The party should go to opposition. All of it. If Papa is not here, Bonusu is not here.
Views from within the NPP there on whether or not the party has met promises made to party chairman in various constituencies. Well, outspoken critic of President Akufo-Addo and his government and lead campaigner of the Kumi Preku Reloaded demonstration, Martin Kwebu, says the poll solidifies his stance that the president should step down. But the private legal practitioner says he is willing to back down if the president can slow the depreciation of the cedi and also deal with inflation. He spoke to my colleague, Blaise Soga, on the Pulse.
The right thing is for him to go because, look, Mr. Soga, in 2012, you see the video making the rounds. I pray that you play. You see President Akufo-Addo indicating that when President Mills came, at the time President Akufo was leaving, it was $1, 1 cedi. And then when President Mills came, the Mills Mahama regime, it became $1, 2 cedis. And he said if it was him, he would have resigned. But the people we were dealing with at the time had no integrity, and so they weren't going to do it, right? They were more interested in corruption and etc. Today, what do we see? It's not worse. It's not worse. At the time he came, look, roughly, we can call it 4 cedis. At the time he came, 2017, it was $1.
Yeah, but that's today, precisely why I'm asking the question, that what would be that negotiating point for you? What would it take for you to reverse your decision? If the president is able to do some magic, turn things around within the next couple of weeks, that should suffice, right? You'll be okay.
This magic, wow. 1 cedi, sorry, $1, 4 cedis.
No, I mean, but it's as though you are just throwing everything away. I mean, just hoping that things will get worse, and that's part of the criticism facing you as well.
I'll be very happy if you can do it. If President Akufo-Addo, even Nafafalo, if he can get $1, 7 cedis by next Thursday, he should remain. So 1 week from today, $1, 7 cedis, it's okay. $1, 7 cedis. We'll take it like that.
And that's Martin Kwebu, and Martin Kwebu is leading the Kumi Preku demonstration Reloaded on the 5th of November at 7 a.m. Speaking there on what it would take for them to back down They've written to the police, you understand, and the police have met them, and there is an agreement of where they should converge. We understand that will be at the Obra spot. I want to speak now to the governing New Patriotic Party's communications director, Richard Ehiagba, who joins us on the telephone line right now. Richard, thank you for your time here on Newsnight.
Thank you.
I mean, what do you make of this Info Analytics report that suggests that 54% of respondents, when they were asked the question, there are calls from certain quarters for the president to step down. Do you support this call? You hear them say that yes, they support the call, that the president should go.
Thank you, Vance. I just read through the report. I think that the report, I think a while ago we spoke to Global Info Analytics reports, but this one is highly deficient. It appears largely unscientific. But the question, if you look at the question you raised, is a biased question because you create a prejudice to the respondent by asking that, by telling them that there's call from certain quarters. What quarters are those? So if I am an individual associated with a certain quarters, then I have a bias to say yes or no to that question. So the question itself is not a good measure. It's not a good instrument to measure people's opinion on the matter.
Just for clarity, you're not doubting that there are indeed calls for the president to step aside.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the question you asked the respondent, for which result we are discussing, I'm saying that question is a heavily biased question. So the respondent had to associate or imagine what quarters is this that the call is coming from. Okay? And so if it's an individual who is associated with a certain quarters, then he is not objective in answering your question. He's answering the question in association to a certain quarters. What quarters is that? You should ask the respondent directly. Do you? Right? So the person makes a personal decision. Now they are making a second-hand decision based on certain quarters. What is that quarters? Right? So it's very deficient for me from that standpoint. If I were asking a question like to measure people's view on whether or not president resign or not, that question will not be a question that I'll ask them. I won't frame it that way. And on that account, it's deficient for me. But the larger issue is, for me, Evans, is that what is the material value of this poll question? What is the motivation? What's the research importance of it?
I mean, I guess if you look at it in the context of where we are right now, with the economy, of course, facing one of the worst economic downturns of our lifetimes, and people's moods generally as expressed through social media, etc. It's just measuring how Ghanaians generally are responding to the current economic times.
Yeah. So, Ivan, I concede that. I concede we're in difficult times. And that, I think that nobody is shying away from that conversation. I will admit that to you any day. But it doesn't equal the call on the president to resign. So then what happens? When he resigns, then what happens?
I guess people hold him ultimately responsible for where we are currently, also because and if you read the poll, they are not satisfied with the way he's managed the crisis.
But Ivan, you are posing this question. You should join me to educate the public. How do you hold the president accountable for where we are? Do you hold the president accountable for COVID-19? You can't say that, right? We were in this country. If you read the 2017 Article 4 consultation, okay, in the summary, you find out that there was a 2-decade low performance under the NDC. In terms of GDP growth in this country. We sat in this country for years on end without electricity. Okay? Was that crisis? Was that a merit or was that a basis to say the president to resign? The president has a mandate. And I think that we in the media should not be engaging this kinds of conversation, because for me, essentially, it has no democratic value for us. It has no essential research value contributing to our forward march. I think it's a fantasy type of search, and that launches us into, a wild goose chase of saying, so what if 54% of people say it should resign? How does that translate into anything?
Richard Ahagba, thank you very much. Easy Communications Director for the governing New Patriotic Party. Let's stay on this bit of the economy and demand for resignations a while longer, because it is now official. The agenda to have Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta sacked has now been adopted by the entire MPP majority caucus in Parliament. It started with 80 MPP MPs revolting against the president, threatening to boycott government business unless the finance minister is sacked. Well, today, the majority leader, Mensah, has been addressing a news conference where he clarified that agenda is no longer that of only the 80 MPP MPs. He says the entire majority caucus is united behind that agenda. He has been explaining why he is determined to probe an alleged attempt by a wealthy businessman to bribe the MPP MPs to get them to back off their demand to have the finance minister sacked. He says the alleged bribery attempt affects the entire majority caucus.
That's an attempted bribery case, whether bribery or inducement or whatever. As I stated, yes, it's come to my notice, and that issue has come before us. Let me say that it is not the group that started that. That maybe somebody attempted to bribe. I'm saying so because even though the issue started with about 80 plus, the group of 80 plus, the caucus meeting aligned with the position of that group. So it's no longer the cause of the 80 plus group. It's the agenda for the entire caucus. And we're having some discussions on that. But with particular reference to the attempted bribery, as I've been informed about that, and as I responded to same matter when I was interviewed by one of your prime stations, I said that it's come before me. We'll investigate if it is true, and if it's true, to establish the motive of that person. That is what I can say of it as of now. Not knowing what the motive is. Sometimes these things come up. You remember the issue of a minister who was nominated to appear before the vetting committee. There was an allegation that he had attempted to bribe some people or influence some people. Eventually it turned out to be, I wouldn't say falsehood, but an untruth.
Well, the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, had hoped he will come before Parliament on the 15th of this month to present the crucial 2023 budget, which he was confident will include agreed details from the IMF bailout talks.
And with regards to timing, yes, the budget, God willing, should be read by November 15th per the rules. And so, yes, we are multitasking to ensure that all of these things will enable us to meet those deadlines. But we will do it.
Well, we learned today that the finance minister will be unable to meet this expectation of his. The majority leader has been explaining why the budget will have to delay.
I'm not too sure as I sit here. I still have to have some discussions with the minister responsible for finance to determine exactly when he'll be able to submit the document to us. As you do know, the Public Financial Management Act provides that the budget should be presented to the House latest the 15th of this month. the discussions that are going on now involving the IMF, I think is going to take a little bit of a while. My understanding is that it will go into the first few days of next week, around the 10th or so. If that is the case, you then have to strand out the conclusions and factor them into the budget. And after we've succeeded in doing that, because it's a budget for government, it will have to go before cabinet for some discussions, integrations, and maybe additions and subtractions before it comes ultimately to Parliament. So I believe it's going to be quite difficult.
That's Chi Mensah Bontuhizi, Majority Leader, and George is here with more on this, George.
Yeah, Evans, and of course I'll be telling you more about this and its impact on the larger economy, as you'll be hearing from an economist, Professor Ebu Texan, who has described this move to delay the budget as critical and that will help in actually confidence restoration in the economy. And U.S. Federal Reserve rate hike may pose fresh challenges for the Ghanaian economy going forward, as the cedi interest rates and loans to be paid by government as well as import inflation could worsen. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Allianz Life and Ghana Pay.
I visited Kweku at his spunky new office to congratulate him on opening his business. And man, was I impressed. The business is just moving quick. The sales, customers, everything is just working seamlessly. The secret? He said,
it's MTN Business Broadband. In this fast-paced environment, we need fast and reliable internet to support all business types. No laggy online meetings, great download and upload speeds, impeccable business management systems, all inclusive. I mean, you can have it all.
Sharp! I signed on immediately.
To enable your business stay ahead and stay connected, make sure you're signed on to the best internet made just for businesses. MTN Business Broadband. Sign up today on broadband.mtn.com.gh and manage your account on my MTN app. Call 0244 308 111 for more information.
MTN.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kindle Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHS, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302 764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
Alande! Missy! Alande!
Adepen Alande.
Ghana Pay Alande.
Hey, finally! Ghana Pay Alande.
Do more your way on Ghana Pay. Send and receive money at 0 transaction fees. Pay bills, buy airtime and data. Transfer money in and out of your bank account and so much more with Ghana Pay. Dial *707# to register for Ghana Pay or download the Ghana Pay app from the Play Store or App Store.
Alande! Ghana Pay Alande.
Ghana Pay. Your money, your way.
This service is powered by Gibbs.
When everything works in your car, it all sounds so smooth. But when you replace them with inferior parts, it doesn't quite sound the same. Get original Peugeot and Citroen parts and expert servicing from Silver Star Auto, the official distributor for Citroen and Peugeot in Ghana. Visit silverstar.com.gh or follow us on social media for more details.
Allianz, insurance since 1890. At Allianz Life Ghana, we have a wide range of life insurance packages to suit all pockets, from individuals, groups, associations, and businesses. We cover your employees, your funerals, pensions, children's education, and your future. Call us on 0302-267-892 or visit our website www.allianz-gh.com for more inquiries. Allianz Life, we secure your future.
Afiwe, Black Stars fans say attempted
Yeah, Jai!
Team selection.
Yeah, Jai!
Na coaching Ejumanin swear.
Yeah, Jai!
Hey, now Black Stars beat maybe B. Saka Sanonso.
Yeah, Jai!
No negative talk. Positive talking kwa. Mumayan Kamum. Qatar 2022 way. Nayanta Black Stars echi. DSTV the 64 matches ni na be bro DSTV compact so. For 169 Ghana cedis beji decoder and the year. Ghana, it's our moment.
Now Jordan, you could be
Hey, Masa. Yejai.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, economist Professor Ebutexin has described as prudent moves to delay the 2023 budget presentation due to the current negotiations with the IMF for a program. Majority Leader Sir Chairman Sabonsu, who disclosed this at the press conference today, maintained that government wanted to have more time with the fund in finalizing the budget. Let's first hear from the Minister of State of the Finance Ministry, Charles Dubois, who had earlier disclosed that the budget to be heavily influenced by the IMF.
To conclude the negotiations and get to start level agreement by the end of the year. And so the discussions are ongoing as we hear. We've met with the team 3 or 4 times since we came in last week, and discussions have progressed, I must say, quite well on various fronts. We also are very cognizant of being able to incorporate into our budget some of the key policy decisions so that we wouldn't have to go back and revise the budget once it's passed in November. And so that has also been part of our discussions. And so we are quite encouraged. We think that, we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And we believe that...
And that is the Minister of State of the Finance Ministry, Charles Dubois, who had earlier explained to Joy Business that the 2023 budget will be influenced by the IMF. Let's now hear from Professor Ebutexin, an economist, who tells Joy Business that this might help in fast-tracking confidence building in the economy by offshore investors.
Part of the reason why we got to the point where was the inability for the managers of the economy to show credibly how they were going to ensure fiscal consolidation in 2022. The fact that investors were not convinced was part of the reason why we lost access to the ICM. So definitely, if our budget's going on, especially for the next 2-3 years, is heavily influenced by the reform package that we will sign on to under the IMF. It gives the credibility and the confidence that investors are looking forward to, and so it's going to definitely influence them.
And that is the economist Professor Ebutexin speaking about how the decision to extend the 2023 budget presentation due to the current negotiations with the IMF for a program, how that could help in confidence restoration in the economy. Now, the current challenges facing the economy might not be slowing down soon. Now, it's coming after the U.S. Federal Reserve increased its key lending rate by 0.75%, the highest since 2018. But how would this impact on the Ghana cedi, the cost of servicing Ghana's loans, and import inflation as well? There is more in this report.
The first casualty is the Ghana cedi. This is because the decision by the U.S. Federal Reserve to hike the rate will help strengthen the dollar. Now, at the time when Ghana is still importing a lot to meet its needs and dollar supply is a major challenge, the Ghana cedi could depreciate further in the coming days. The dollar has already strengthened in value against all the major trading currencies in the world. Another area that should worry us all is the impact of what is happening on inflation rate in the country. This because the fact that the dollar has now strengthened in value, some of the items that will be imported to Ghana will be more expensive, worsening the current inflation rate situation in the country. From January to September this year, about $1.5 billion has been taken out of the economy by fund managers that invested in Ghana bonds and decided not to roll over at the time of maturity. That decision impacted negatively on the Bank of Ghana's international reserves. This has also contributed to the current pressure on the Ghana cedi. It will also increase the cost of servicing loans and bonds. This is because some of these investors will be asking for a higher return on their investments.
And that is the Business Desk report. Now, Tullow Oil's plan to create Africa's biggest energy group by merging with Capricorn Energy has finally been dashed. Now, this was after it failed to secure approval from shareholders of Capricorn Energy about the merger. Both companies have made this announcement to their shareholders through their stock market in Africa and other European countries. Now, here is the managing director of Tullow Oil Ghana, Wissam Almoti, who had earlier in the briefing highlighted the real benefit that this deal would have offered to Ghana.
This transaction provides shareholders with a resultant leading African energy company with significantly increased financial strength and balance sheet stability, and a whole list of investment opportunities in Ghana, in Egypt, which is where Capricorn's production asset base is, as well as all around the continent. So if you're an employee in Ghana, it means directly that you're going to be a lot busier, accelerating some of our investments and adding new things to do in Ghana. So that provides an exciting sort of active platform to be working in.
And that is the managing director of Tullow Oil Ghana, Wissam Almoti, speaking earlier about what the merger with Capricorn Energy would have meant for Ghana. Now, that deal is no longer coming on. Now, Tullow was looking forward to create Africa's biggest energy group by merging with that UK-based energy firm. So when are we going to see fuel prices decline on the local market? Evans, that's the biggest question a lot of people are asking of the Ghana cedi stable and all the rest. Would that impact on fuel prices and all the rest? Yeah. And we are trying to get some answers, Evans, tonight on PM Express Business Edition as we engage the new chief executive of the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors, Dr. Patrick Kwekufori, on all these issues. And what would also this impact or this government's deal that they're going to try to get some cheap fuel somewhere? Is that possible? And Evans, are we going to see fuel prices drop anytime soon when the Ghana cedi stabilizes? Well, all these questions will be answered for you on PM Express Business Edition tonight on Joy News.
You want to make a date for that? It's tonight on the Joy News channel. Also going to be on Facebook and on YouTube as well. Let's do sports now. Ms. Barris here with details.
Yes, Evans, former Black Stars coach CK Akono has been speaking, and he has urged Ghanaians to be positive about the chances of the Black Stars and its technical team led by Otto Addo for this month FIFA World Cup. And Akono has been speaking to Joy Sports Muftar Nabila Abdullah on Prime Take.
From now onwards, I think the idea of criticizing, saying this, no. Otto Addo is our coach now. He's got Didi Dramani. He's got George Boateng, Chris Hughes. These guys they know about the game. They understand the game. Chris is a huge guy. Yeah. Premier and all that. So definitely they will support him. Yeah.
Norwich.
Exactly. Boateng, I was supposed to have worked with him when I was the head, so I had the chance of meeting him too. Talk to him. I met also in that same moment. I met Chris. Spoke to him. When you talk to them, you can clearly see you're on the field already. They know what the game is about. They will help Otto Addo and he will do well. But I think from now onwards, we need to be positive. We need to be positive. Even whatever we've seen that is negative, don't hammer it too much on it. Let's be positive And let's go into this World Cup, and I believe we can come out.
Charles Kwabena Akono speaking there. And then even just some news coming in the last hour. Gerard Piqué of Barcelona, he has announced his retirement from professional football and says his final game with Barcelona will be in the game against Almeria on Saturday at the Nou Camp. The 35-year-old three-time Champions League and 8-time La Liga winner with Bohil Club Barcelona reviewed the news in a video message posted on social media. Remember, Piqué was part of the team that helped Spain win the 2010 World Cup there. And he says that he's not going to play for any other team. Possibly in the future, he will return to Barcelona in a non-playing capacity there. And also in the Europa League events, I'm sure you're interested. Manchester United, we understand, is leading by 1-0, and they're looking to top their group. And they have to get at least one more goal to do just that.
Thank you very much. And of course, you're topping that group by hook or crook. Well, the finals of the Joy FM Family Pop Quiz mini-series is happening this Sunday, and it promises to be exciting. 1 out of 5 finalists will have the opportunity to go on a 10-day all-expenses-paid trip to Dubai for educational conferences and other fun-filled activities. Now, with few days to the finals, organizers say all is set to host both children and parents at the Labadi Beach Hotel for an interesting contest. Host of the contest, Adam Naite, has been telling us more.
So this Sunday we're selecting one child who ends up in Singapore from the 1st of December through to the 10th. And we have 5 of them who have qualified to the finals. So we have done 4 weeks of the, quiz, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. And each week we select one child who, I usually don't want to say the winner, but the child who got the most answers to the questions we asked. It's an all expense paid trip. They get to attend the Young Achievers Leadership Camp. They get to do Disney, they get to have robotics lessons, and then have loads of other fun activities. And they are actually looking forward to it. It's coming off at 3 p.m. this Sunday, 6th November 2022, 3 p.m. live on Joy 99.7 FM. It will also be live on Facebook at Joy 997. And then you can catch the playback later on Joy Prime Television.
And that's Adam Naite there, and she, of course, hosts that program. You want to make a date, in fact, if you're interested in that, this weekend.
God, won't you take everything? I don't.
And the countdown is on. It's barely 24 hours now to the much anticipated gospel concert of the year. I'm talking about the 12th edition of the Dome Praise happening tomorrow. The Dome, of course, the Dome Praise Music Festival is just a day away, and tickets are running out fast. You wouldn't want to miss out on being part of this once-in-a-year event that is certain to give you a heaven-on-earth experience. Organizers are promising prophetic declarations, prayers, and praises as well. I'll let you in on some of the acts who will join Travis Green. Of course, you're hearing him in the background there on stage. They include Edwin Datson, Perez Music, and Jack. And now let's hear from Programs Director at Dome FM, Josh Tigo, on how you can get a ticket and much of what you should expect at the Perez Dome, Jolo, tomorrow at 6 p.m.
This is what is going to happen tomorrow. We would give our patrons a moment that maybe they haven't had in about 2 or 3 years because of COVID, and that's why we are bringing in Travis. Let me also add that we've suffered criticism from some segment of the Christian community, especially from our friends in the SDA faith, who have said that we haven't featured a lot of their artists. Okay. So this year, Makanim, a seasoned SDA major, is going to be on the bill. We've made it possible for people to purchase tickets using Momo merchant number 0245 29 3599. It's a First National Bank merchant number.
And indeed, Travis Green is a headline act, and you don't want to miss this year's edition of Adom Praise. One of my favorite acts, indeed, is the man who is performing tomorrow. He is already, as you know, in the country, has been doing the rounds here in the studios of Joy 99.7 FM and across our networks. And he's promising you an event of a lifetime you can't miss. Well, we end on that note. As we look forward to tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
You got this figured out, and you're watching us.